My name's Greg Abbott, and you're listening to the Blue Army podcast. Enjoy.
All right, Maras, just before we get things kicked off with the podcast, I just want you to do me a favour. Picture this scene. It's Sunday morning. It was a good night. But I bet you're feeling it now. And there's no point in just sitting on the couch all day, wallowing and suffering with dry mouth. You want to get yourself up, and you want to get yourself down to Bank Street in Carlisle. And when you're there, you want to follow your nose, and you will find John Watts & Sons Cafe and their amazing new brunch menu, which includes full English breakfast served from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. That's right, all day John Watts & Sons breakfast. What more could you want on a Sunday? Get yourself out of bed at 9 in the morning, get yourself out of bed at midday. It doesn't matter, you'll still have enough time to go down to John Watts & Sons on Bank Street in Carlisle and get yourself a full English breakfast. And yes, before you ask, it does include a free juice, coffee or a tea, and is actually less than a tenner. So I don't think I need to do much more selling to convince you where to go on Sunday morning this week. It's the newest sponsor here on the Blue Army podcast. We're proudly associated with John Watts & Sons Cafe on Bank Street. Go down there and try the new brunch menu. And while you're there, just mention that you heard about it here on the Blue Army podcast. Thank you so much for listening.
My name is Matty Robson.
My name is Chris Phillip.
My name is Paul Anderson.
My name is Mark Boyd.
Hello, my name is Derek Combs and I listen to the Blue Army podcast.
My name's Toby Show Silva and welcome to the Blue Army podcast.
Awesome, that's really good. So in the interest of not keeping people hanging around too long tonight, because I know everybody's got... Sorry, Liam, are you wearing a fucking Rangers shirt?
He is.
Are you wearing a fucking Rangers shirt, Liam?
Right, I can explain.
Go on then.
I was in Gretna this morning. And the thing is, right, I saw this top last FIFA. And I'm not... Do either you two play FIFA, like the new FIFAs?
Like, not for a while, but I know what you're barking up.
Yeah, the Ultimate Team, because Carlisle were doing awfully last season, I didn't really use the Carlisle kit on Ultimate Team too much, so I just went with, because I really like purple kits. I went with this kit for like a year last year playing FIFA, and I saw it in Gretna today and it was on sale. It was only 30 quid, I say only 30 quid, but they're usually a lot more. But, and I thought, the amount of hours I've spent playing FIFA while having this kit, I said I might as well have it in real life. So I made the investment. And I'm a shirt collector as well. So.
You're a shirt collector. Can I just bring your attention to the shirt behind me, gentlemen, as you might be able to see. The best find anyone will ever find in a charity shop this side of Cumbria. It is a Corinthians shirt with number 8 on the back. It's an absolute effing beauty. I've looked it up on eBay. I've looked it up on Shirt Swappy, all them kind of websites. I mean, I paid £3 for it. It's worth like 400 times more than that. It's mental. I don't know who was willing to give it away to the charity shop. I'm very sorry that they monstrously undervalued the beautiful thing that you gave them. But I was more than happy to add it to my collection, and as you can see, it's set right there next to my my deck chair kit and last season's away shirt, mate.
Because we're already spiraling off topic already. Can I try and one up that real quick? It's right next to.
Go on. What have you got? He's got a kit here.
Well, while he's doing that, I've got a Croatia kit from the France '98 World Cup.
Oh, Will's got some kits. What have you got, Liam?
It's this really old Brazil top.
Oh, look at that!
And I got this for free. Just by inheriting it. So
it's a beauty.
That's my
beauty. Does it on the label on the inside? Does it say like Authentica Brasilia?
It says no. I don't know. It says.
Is it in English?
Yeah, I think it's. I don't think it's the old-fashioned shirt company.
Oh, right, it's one of them.
It's a remake.
Yeah.
It's a remake.
It looks old. That's
It
what
Yeah,
looks
but call
old
me
because
old, but
it's
it's
supposed
to look old.
See, the sponsor of this Corinthian shirt, they don't exist anymore. Fred Perry bought them. Look at the logo on this is beautiful. I'm sorry, we're well off topic now. We don't have anything to really talk about that's positive on today's
No,
show.
I mean,
anyway.
I could go get my Croatia top.
Yeah,
Go
go
get
on.
your Croatia top, Wills. Go get your Croatia top. I'm going to put this up on the YouTube so people look at that logo. See the little Fred Perry badge inside that logo?
Yeah.
It's
They don't exist anymore.
beautiful. Right, no, they don't exist anymore. They're called Finter. That's the back of it, number 8.
For those
I have
listening
not
at home,
seen another
says-
8 at home. Go on.
Is that the player's name above it?
No, that's the shirt sponsor. That's how they do it
Oh,
in Brazil.
okay.
Kalunga.
Kalunga. Do you know who number 8 was for that season for Corinthians?
I don't.
You'll have to find that out.
I'm pretty sure it was that Brazilian lad that like Gattuso.
Oh, that Brazilian lad, yeah.
Yeah.
Did that like Gattuso? It sounded like Gattuso, but he was Brazilian.
Well,
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure that's the season that Ronaldinho went back to Corinthians and Ronaldinho won number 10. I'm pretty sure.
well, the season or the year that Croatia finished third in the World Cup, beating Germany en route to the semi-final, they wore this shirt, and I wore it, and I bought it and wore it in Germany on a school trip.
Oh, look at that! Oh, is that Lotto?
It's a classic, yeah. It's Lotto.
That's a
this
beauty.
really is a classic because Croatia. I don't know when Croatia formed, but like it used to be Yugoslavia.
Yeah,
so,
Yugoslavia.
so this was like maybe like I think this was like their first ever international tournament or something like that. Even more on the back.
Oh, blank.
It's a nice shirt.
It's a beautiful
very
shirt,
nice shirt.
man. It's a very nice look. I bet that very rarely sees a light of day, so I appreciate that, Will, man.
Yeah, it occasionally does. My mate Mike wore it for a photograph when Croatia beat Scotland in I think it was the World Cup or the Euros. I think it was the Euros. Yes, Scotland.
I'd work getting in the World Cup if it's Scotland.
Yeah. Croatia beat Scotland, and my friend has a Scottish friend, and he won. So I said, wear this, and you can send a photo to him, which he did.
Hey, it's an absolute beauty of your shirt. Like, that's beautiful. I'm
Yeah,
glad
you
we all
win.
managed to do a bit of that. I think Will probably wins. I thought I was going to win. I honestly, I had all the confidence in the world that I was going to win that one. Like,
Yeah.
I'll take Will just pulls out this literally an absolute worldie. Literally, Will pulls out an absolute worldie.
It is. It's so nice.
Oh, lads. I mean, at least we're in a good mood right now. You know, what we're about to talk about might necessarily not leave us. No, it's not gonna last too long. But we've got guessing the player, we've got true blue or not a blue. We've got things that are gonna get us through this hard time, lads. We have got things that are gonna get us through this. And just a little bit of daft news as well. Some rad stuff has actually happened this week in football, and we'll go on to talk about that in just a few seconds. But lads, first, just please let me introduce the show. Is that all right?
Yes.
I really enjoyed that. We should start our own football shirt podcast. It'd have to be a YouTube one though. We'd have to be able to show our shirts off and stuff. We'll talk about that after. We'll talk about that after this. And just before I introduce the show, gentlemen, it is about time that I reminded people after listening to that advert, which is probably about 10 minutes ago after that shirt ramble. Anyway, that you can get 10% off every Sunday on the brunch menu at John Watts, which are doing a full English breakfast every single Sunday, all effing day long. So go to the football, get nice and pished up, have a hangover the next day, and I've got a cure for you. It's John Watts Cafe on Bank Street in Carlisle, opposite Halifax Bank. get yourself down there, get yourself a breakfast, and get yourself an extra 10% off if you show your season ticket or you're wearing a Carlisle United shirt. So just for being a Carlisle United fan and listening to this podcast, we're saving you money. But only if you go to John Watts on Sunday. All right, boys. Oh. It's Matters. How's it, guys? Well, so I've got some more sound effects on this one. How's it going? And welcome back to the Blue Army podcast. This is, of course, episode 102. And it is my pleasure to introduce to you the two men I love to call the Cumbrian Brain Trust, of course. I'm talking about Wills and Liam. I'm doing all right job, lads. Are you all right? You feeling amped up? Are you all right?
Yes.
Yeah, I am now.
I'm good, yeah.
Right. I'm trying, you know, it's been a shit week for Carlisle United fans. It really has been. But we're here not to add to the misery, lads. We're not here to add to the misery. We're here to make people feel good about being Carlisle United fans, because if you've got the fucking balls to be a Carlisle United fan, you deserve a break every now and again. And so, in the interest of keeping things light-hearted and lovely and funny, at this time of the show, we have traditions, and that means it's time for one thing and one thing only. It's time for the Blue Army podcast. Joke of the week. Here's the having a laugh. I think he's trying to. It's the Blue Army podcast. Joke of the week. All right, boys, here we go. Liam, I'm looking at you, mate, because I reckon you're going to guess this one.
That's
Here
pressure.
we go. Here we go. What is a pig's best attack move?
I don't know.
Will?
No, I don't know.
I feel like there's going to be people screaming down the phones and devices.
A pork chop.
He's done it! He's done it. I gave him the extra window. I opened it up and he's walked on through. That's it. Yeah, the pig's best form of defence. Attack, sorry, is a pork chop. Probably its best form of defence as well, to be fair, is a pork chop. Right, lads, well, I feel like we're in a great mood at the moment, and obviously we've got an extra chance before we dive into, you know, Carlisle United match reports and things like that, to catch up and maybe buffer the bad times by catching up on League Two's news. And that means it's time for the League Two roundup with Liam and Wills, where we all get to find out what's
been happening here? What's been happening there? 'Cause it's the League Two roundup with Wills and Liam.
Hey.
how you doing it this week, lads? What you doing? Come on. I have no idea how you're doing it this week.
Well, I don't know what Liam's got, but I think
I've got
both
news
of
that,
our
like-
stories are like National League related.
Yeah. I'm just going to go like former League Two player.
All right, dive in.
Lightly related. Do you want to go first, Wills?
Yeah, I mean, well, mine is League Two related, but it's Wrexham have signed Barrow striker Billy Waters for an undisclosed fee. Obviously, there's no
Big man, Billy Waters.
Yeah, well, there's no transfer window down there. He scored 9 goals for Barrow. He was one of their first team players. And yeah, Wrexham have come in. You know, they're entering the stage of the season where it's the final push. And yeah, I think they've had their top scorer, Paul Mullin, has had a knee injury. So they've.
Right, but they don't. There's like Ollie Palmer's fine though, isn't he?
Yeah, Ollie Palmer's fine, I think.
And they've still got a game in. They're still 3 points top of the league, and they've still got a game in hand, don't they?
Yeah, I mean the point is more the fact that
it's a little bit of overkill, don't you think?
Yeah.
They just signed Ben Foster as well.
They have a lot of money, yeah. I mean, so I don't know what the Barrow fans. Apparently, the Barrow fans aren't too disappointed, even though he scored 9 goals.
Well, they'll have got good money for him, won't they?
They have got,
Yeah, you'd
probably.
think so,
They've got an
yeah.
undisclosed fee, and they have, and he's not their highest scorer. So Yeah, it's just, one of those things, and I don't know if this is kind of like something to argue for making the National League into League Three, because if that happened, then they would have to abide by transfer windows and financial fair play.
Makes it more interesting down this end of the table, in my opinion.
Yeah,
like it's the same with not having VR down here. It's like don't tarnish all of us with the same shit that the top division has.
We don't have VR, and conference teams might steal our players outside of transfer windows. That's the life of a League Two fan.
Competitive. It's like living in a Shark Tank.
So, Liam, what have you got?
Well, I've got, again, it doesn't really relate too much to League Two, so I'm going to try my best. Mine was, like you've already mentioned, for someone who has played in League Two before, Ben Foster, for some reason has gone to Wrexham out of retirement. This is
I wonder why.
I
wonder what's attracted him to Wrexham.
But like this is a keeper was playing in the Premier League regularly last season. And he's not going to be playing in the National League.
He never appeared on Netflix when he was playing for in the Premier League.
Well, it's like Wrexham have now got 2 goalkeepers who have their own podcast.
Right? That's what I was thinking about the whole situation. It's like, is Mark Howard not only thinking, I'm not the number... Because like what happened was, obviously, Mark Howard's been injured. He's out to the end of the season, like friend of the show, Mark Howard, but unofficial friend of the show, Mark Howard. He's not been on the podcast yet. We've only had conversations in private. We've obviously stolen a game off him as well, so we have to give him credit where credit's due every now and again. He's not only been injured until the end of the season and like monstrously over-replaced by a former Premier League goalkeeper, but in terms of his social media numbers, he's also being replaced by an absolute effing juggernaut in the podcasting
with
world.
Them both being at the same club, I can imagine Mark Howard going on the football fill-in, which is Ben Foster's show, and maybe Ben Foster going on Mark Howard's one.
And Mark Howard's is better.
Naughty bit of crossover. I mean, Mark Howard's has got a good podcast. He has got a good podcast.
Yeah, so you can imagine them going on each other's one if they're going to be training every however often they train together.
I mean, I don't know. Like, to be fair, I mean, from my conversation with Mark, he's not very happy to share his audience. And then again, things might change when it's Ben Foster in
Premier League goalkeeper Ben Foster.
Yeah,
and another one different. And another bit of news that I couldn't really relate to League Two, but I'm going to try and get it in anyways. Workington Reds played the other day. I can't remember who they were playing against, but somebody on the other team was Harry Maguire's brother. And I don't know if you've seen this, but they look identical. And I just thought...
Slabhead.
Yeah, honestly, the massive forehead. And he's a centre-back as well. And I just thought... You get so overshadowed by your brother if you look.
Are you sure he wasn't Harry Maguire? Because I mean, he's not been playing for Man U.
He has been playing for England, though. He has been playing for England this week.
Well, that's the thing, because I said to my dad when we were watching England, I said, Harry Maguire's brother, who just played against Working Reds, probably got more of a claim to that England cap than Harry Maguire has at the minute, because at least he's playing every week. Harry Maguire doesn't play anymore, so. I thought.
No, you're right. I mean, don't get me wrong. Obviously, Gareth Southgate's done a really good job over the Italy game and the Ukraine game.
Well, at
the end of the day, he's got the results where he needed to get the results. Like he got the results where they needed to get the results. But that would have been your ideal opportunity to bring that Tomori in. When you play against Italy, when you're over there in Italy, that's your perfect opportunity to bring him in. If he does well, then he plays against Ukraine. Then you've got a defender potentially for the next sort of like 80 caps. You know what I mean? And like you're laughing. Maguire's not going to be here
is just a better centre back than Harry Maguire.
Well, but we need to see it, mate. We need to see. I agree with you, Liam. I do agree with you, but we need to see it. It needs to be seen. It really needs to be seen. And unfortunately for Tomori. Harry Maguire's performance. Well, Jared's another shout, but again, it needs to be seen. Like you need to see them. You need to see them, and you're not going to see them until after a major tournament.
With this Nations League,
not with Southgate. Like not with
it's
Southgate.
Euros qualifiers.
Euro qualifiers.
Because if it was Nations League, those games are pretty much friendlies, aren't they? But
pretty much.
Because we're in the second division of the Nations League now as well. We're not even fighting for the top trophy.
I mean, that's fair enough. I mean, they made Nations League into a trophy to replace the international friendlies, but it's still just friendlies, really.
Yeah,
I mean,
especially when you're not in the top flight.
Yeah, I mean, like some of the smaller countries probably take it more seriously than we do. Hopefully when we get to play Nations League games, we can see the likes of Tamori and hopefully Branthwaite get a chance. By the way, can either of you hear that banging? Because my downstairs neighbour's doing some work, and
No.
Because I know we can sometimes hear Liam's pet pigeon.
Right. Okay.
Just glossing that one.
No, you're all right. You're all right.
For
Downstairs.
the viewers at home, I don't keep pigeons in my loft. Just to clarify.
Pigeons in your loft.
Oh, maybe I do
Just a
then.
few. Just a few. Just a few. But
Just a
I
few,
mean,
but
no,
they promise to be quiet this time.
they do promise to be quiet at this time of day. But no, lads, just before we move on from your sort of League Two roundup there, while I've got the league table sort of up in front of me and sort of like just quickly glancing over the weekend results, that clash that you mentioned last week on the podcast between Crawley and bottom of the table Rochdale was a 2-0 win for Crawley, whose impressive form seems to continue. Not only that, Barrow won 2-1 at home to Wimbledon. And I mean, around us, because of the result that we had, around us, things didn't necessarily go terribly bad. There was a loss for Stevenage against Salford, which, both teams are either side of us. So it depends if you're looking at securing playoffs or automatic promotion.
Yeah.
You would say that's a good result for us. Obviously, Stockport did win against Swindon, which obviously makes them more secure and sort of like right up our asses, unfortunately. But in terms of sort of the Stevenage result, Leyton Orient drawing against Hartlepool, those are results that have kind of got in our favour. Obviously, Northampton did beat Doncaster and sort of like get a little bit away from us.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a very good week for Northampton, and now they're the team on form. And the promotion race, if you look at especially the four teams, Orient, Northampton, Stevenage and Carlisle, that have kind of been up there for most of the season. And isn't it nice to kind of be able to include us in that group, even though we're currently having a bit of a blip? We kind of like just seem to be exchanging form. There was a time Northampton were having a massive blip and where people were talking about dropping out of the automatic race. They get a good result. They're back in. Leyton Orient have had a big cushion for a while, but they did have quite an extended spell of poor form. Even now, they've not won in 4, just drawn 4, so they've not been beaten in quite, I don't know how much the form table doesn't go back that far, but quite a long time. Stevenage again. The hope is obviously for us that it is again just a blip, and like the others have, will recover and be in that race. But went off on one there a bit.
No, sorry.
Yeah.
You just never seem to end at a point when you go off on one, though. You always just realise that you've gone off on one, and then you get more bemused by the fact that you've gone off on one, rather than finishing your point,
Going back to that, to the relegation, sorry.
Yeah.
Do you say that's Rochdale down now?
Yeah.
I think Rochdale have been down for a while. I mean,
I was going to
they
say
had that little resurgence, didn't they? But Crawley was a game they needed to win.
Yeah, well, even
10
when
points,
they beat
10 points adrift.
It seemed like a freak result, that Stevenage win. 10 points, massive goal difference, disadvantage. Crawley, good, decent form. Hartlepool,
just drawn against Leyton Orient.
In 5, unbeaten in 5, and they've had some difficult games that they've picked up points in.
I reckon Hartlepool are going to try. Hartlepool are going to try, and it's only going to make the gap between Rochdale and Hartlepool worse, I think. But I also think Hartlepool are going to go down. If it's not Harrogate, then it's Hartlepool.
So? I think
it's not Harrogate, it's Hartlepool.
Harrogate have won 2 out of the last 3.
Colchester, I know, but they're just as bad as they are good.
Colchester have been in free fall, and they are 5 points clear of Hartlepool. If Hartlepool can turn some draws into wins and Colchester don't improve, Wimbledon are on absolutely atrocious form. But I mean, at this point, we're talking about teams that, they're still 11 points clear of relegation. Absolutely.
Are you forgetting about
atrocious
Crawley
one.
though? I think they'll be the team to go down with them. I know they've just beat Rochdale, but
Yeah,
I still think it'll be Rochdale and Crawley that go down just because of the state
Thing
that's
with
happened at
Crawley
Crawley.
is that they've had stupid investment in the wrong areas, but when you've invested in which they have done, they've got a quality goal scorer. It was the top goal scorer in the league above us last season, and when you've got some quality on the pitch, it's normally enough to keep you up. And at this stage of the season, those guys come to work normally.
Yeah, I see what you mean, but I just think Hartlepool are on a bit of a resurgence now, and to be honest with you, I think in a not ideal world where we stay in League Two next season, I'd much rather be travelling to Hartlepool than I would Crawley. So yeah, it's more wishful thinking than anything else. But I think you're right with Crawley because I think they're just as mismanaged as the other teams down there, but they do have that, Telford up front, which is a scary bit for me, and Naddison as well.
Yeah, it just means that, like, I mean, if you come up against them and you're not doing very well, they've got those two good goal scorers that can win them a game. They can win them a game, and as we've seen in League Two, go on.
I'd say fortunately we've played them twice.
Yeah, and beat them both times, didn't we?
Yep.
We've done all right. But obviously, our last run of fixtures are a bit more difficult coming in towards the end of the season. There isn't really a Crawley, unfortunately, for us. But things are gonna get better for us. Things are gonna get better for us, and we'll move on to talk about other things, gentlemen. So thank you very much for the League Two roundup, where we always get to find out each and every week what's been happening here. What's been happening there in the League Two roundup with Liam and Wills? Right, boys, I've decided I'm going to break the news up a little bit this week because there hasn't been a terrible amount of news, and a lot of the news is actually based around injuries, and I feel like that injury boost update will be better discussed after the match report. So I'll lead with just a little bit of news right now, and I'll save a little bit of news for later. The news that I've got right now, gentlemen, is as we spoke about last week on the podcast, there was a Cumbrian named in the under-21 squad, and Mr. James Trafford was chosen and selected to start in goal for the England under-21. So congratulations to the young Cumbrian James Trafford for making his England under-21's debut on his first ever call-up. I feel like that is a statement of intent from management to say that this lad is probably going to be backed for at least the next 2 years. And so he'll be able to witness and be a part of an under-21's European and World Cup campaign. Gentlemen, also in other news, yours truly, the Blue Army podcast, has been a part of putting together some fan entertainment at Brunton Park, which is all going to be kicking off, as the listeners already know, on Good Friday, where I'll be playing a couple of tunes in the fan zone that I've written about Carlisle United. But it's also been extended to the game that's happening the weekend afterwards on the 15th of April. Friend of the show, Mr. Matty Robson, will be joining fans in the East Stand. Player of the Year from 2011, Sir Matty Robson, I should probably say, will be joining fans in the East Stand for a very small Q&A. I believe that's going to be happening at 2:30 on the 15th of April. And then he'll be going over to the fan zone just to sort of have a little bit of a pint and a meet and greet before he probably just enjoys the match with the rest of us, wherever he'll be sitting in the ground. So please, 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 listeners, it's a first-time thing, The whole idea behind this kind of entertainment, this pre-game thing, is to try and get you, the supporters, in the ground a little bit earlier on a match day. And yeah, I'll be honest about it, buy another pint, or maybe get a pasty or like some chips or something, because that money going into the till is to fund the club, and that money that goes into the till is going to pay for Matty Robson's fuel, or something like that, which means that next week we can get Simon Hackney, and the next week we might be able to get Ian Hart, and the next week we might get Michael Bridges. But it's
for Michael Bridges' flights from Australia.
It's a rolling investment, guys. It's all a part of, like, the more you are willing to put in, the more we are going to try and also put in. So there's going to be more for everyone to get out, if that makes any kind of sense. So again, it's going to be a first time ever thing, a Q&A happening on the 15th of April in the East Stand with Matty Robson. Come down, buy a pint, and just be a part of it. You don't have to ask him a question if you don't want to, but if you do sit in the East Stand anyway, and you're going to be there at 2:30, and you normally go to your seat at 2:30, maybe just wait until 2:45. And just linger around and have a pasty and a pint or something and listen to what Matty Robson's been up to for the last couple of years, because it'd be nice to see him down there. Right, anyway, gentlemen, that's the news for now. There'll be more news on the other side of the match report. But before we dive into the most depressing part of the show, let's lift the spirits once again by playing everybody's second favourite game. That's right, gentlemen. It's time for True Blue. It's no one's favourite.
No.
It's time for True Blue or Not a Blue. Diddly do. All right, boys, there are 4 names written down on my list, and as always, all 4 names could be completely made up, or all 4 names could be former Carlisle United players, or somewhere in the middle. That's the point of the game, gentlemen. It's time for True Blue or Not a Blue. This time, we're looking for players from the 1987-1988 season. All right, Liam?
Yep, that's fine.
Yeah, that's okay, isn't it? That's all right. Right, gentlemen, here we go. You need a strong start this week, lads. The last 2 weeks in a row, you started on a shitter. All right, and you still haven't got your 100% yet, so you need to start strong. Start strong this week, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Like, let's get ready. Are we listening? Off we go. Carter. Timothy Carter. Tim Carter.
Oh, Carter. I thought you said Harter.
Carter. Tim Carter.
It just sounds like a 50-50 guess. You don't get many Tims playing football. Was he Tim Flowers?
Tim
Howard.
Tim Howard.
All goalkeepers.
Yeah.
Popular goalkeeper name, yes.
Timothy Weah.
Oh. Good shout.
But this isn't the name of the game, to name Timothy to play football.
How many Tims played football?
If that was the aim of the game, we'd be on a 3 out of 3 at the minute. But
I feel it sounds made up to me. I can't say why. It just sounds.
Okay, I'll go with you. Go.
Sounds like a regen.
Yeah.
We say not a blue, lads.
No, I'm saying it's a regen.
Yeah. It might be one day.
Yeah.
Tim Carter is not a blue,
yes,
boys. He's not a blue. Sorry, boys. I was joking. He is a blue.
What? Oh, you utter bastard.
He is a blue. He was a goalkeeper. Well,
he had to be a goalkeeper.
He was a goalkeeper as well. Tim Carter,
absolute
goalkeeper in 1987, 1988. I'm sorry. Tim Carter is a blue. Tim Carter is a blue. Was a true blue. Gentlemen, you'll try and equal
I think we need to go on strike for the rest of this game.
Yeah, I agree. We accept first answers only, I'm afraid. And,
yeah, you wouldn't accept our second answer, so
yeah.
Well,
so we're not accepting yours. So
I'm sorry, but Tim Carter was a true blue, I'm afraid.
That's 3 weeks in a row then that we've got it wrong.
Just on the first one. Yeah, just on the first one. Lads, Bobby Fish.
Bobby Fish is not a real human being.
There are lots of, I don't know, there's a few footballers called Fish. Mark Fish,
There's a Will Fish who
Mark
plays
Fish.
for the Man United
Billy the Fish.
Academy.
Is he a goalkeeper?
That's not the game.
Billy the Fish is a goalkeeper.
Well,
Sam Fishburne. You know,
Fish.
the
So hang
fish.
on, so what's his name again? Something Fish.
Bobby
Bobby
Fish.
Fish.
Oh, Bobby
Bobby
Fish.
I
Feed
feel
the
like
fish and he will
I
score.
feel like it is. I feel like he's
I disagree.
okay. Should we heads or tails it?
Yes.
Ooh.
Okay,
Ooh.
we've got a heads or
Have you got a
tails for my
coin?
Carlisle United. Oh, no, I've got a Carlisle United coaster.
Okay.
Okay, so this side we say is a blue.
Yep.
This side not a blue.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh,
Tension.
good catch.
He's saying he is a blue.
Yes.
Yep.
Boys,
don't doubt the coin
Bobby
flip.
Fish was not a blue, I'm
Oh,
afraid.
Jesus. Okay.
He was a
yeah.
former WWE NXT
Oh.
superstar who currently wrestles in AEW. And if you're interested in wrestling, don't forget that there are tickets available for Target Wrestling's 10th anniversary show on the 15th of April. Anyway, moving on, gentlemen.
We've got it wrong and we've fueled an advert. You know, it's all gone wrong.
No.
Keeps the lights on. Keeps the lights on. Gentlemen, Peter Hampton.
Well, Liam, I'm just going to defer to you on this one.
Okay,
because...
Jesus.
Oh, Will's give up. Will's completely
No, well, I
give
mean,
up.
Liam was right on the last one, and if I...
Okay.
So,
I think this one's
Yeah.
real. I think that's a weird name to make up. So yeah.
Okay.
Real.
So we're
Okay.
sticking with Liam, and Liam's saying real, and Peter Hampton was a true blue. Well
Ah,
done,
Yeah,
Liam.
nice.
Yeah,
Claude
I mean,
Von
you've
Bach.
saved yourselves from having a white, like an absolute whitewash. You've saved yourself there. But the last one, gentlemen, on this installment of True Blue or Not a Blue, which, to be honest, is more torturous than Carlisle's performance against Gillingham this weekend. The last name on the list is John Day.
sorry, who?
John Day.
John Day.
John Day. Jonathan
I think
Day.
I've heard of him.
John Day.
Okay, hunch is a blue. Yeah.
We're going
let's
with
go
True
is a
Blue.
Yeah.
We're going with True Blue. John Day, gentlemen, was not a blue, I'm afraid.
Okay, Jesus. All right, yeah,
It's been
no,
a
it's
an
terrible
absolute
performance
We've had a
this week.
mare. Is this
Yeah.
the
It's
worst
been
we've
a
done?
terrible performance. It's probably been the worst you've done. Only 1 out of 4 this week, gentlemen. But don't worry. The good thing about True Blue or Not a Blue is that there's always a chance next week.
Yep,
There is.
there is.
So don't worry about it, lads. Don't worry about it. It's always fun playing True Blue or Not a Blue. And to be honest, I mean, things are about to go from bad to worse as we dive into the match report, gentlemen, as I
Can
always
I-
do. Go on, sorry.
Can I add a disclaimer as well before we discuss the match?
Yeah.
So I've been away for the weekend. I was in Liverpool, so I couldn't even listen to it on the radio. I've had a little look at the report. I haven't brought myself to watch the highlights yet. So you two are really gonna have to tell me about it, and I'm just gonna give my thoughts on what you've told me. But
Right.
yeah, like I have no idea what happened. All I know.
All
is
right,
that-
well, we know what we're in for, Liam. We know
Yep.
what we're in for. And I mean, I know you're not bloody happy about what happened this weekend, and I'm definitely not very happy about what happened this weekend. But before we dive into the match report, as we always do here on the Blue Army podcast, I'll give you the Carlisle United starting lineup for this weekend's game. That was against Gillingham, which featured Hoyley in goals with Senior, Barkley, Feeney, Mellish and Armour across a back 5, with Guy and Moxon playing in a midfield 2, with a front 3 of Patrick, Garner and Gordon. And as you look at this Carlisle United's lineup, regardless of what the BBC thinks, it is actually a change in formation, as Garner was playing a central position with Patrick and Gordon either side of him. Liam, before the game, when you look at this lineup and you think of the change in formation, are you thinking that where going to be attacking. It's going to be an attacking mindset. You're looking towards an attacking game. And I mean, what did you see in that first half that maybe was lacking in that attacking outset?
Well, I was wrong from what I thought from the initial thing. When I see that lineup, I think it's a 4-3-3 with Mellish in the midfield. I think what Maury went with was a 5-2-3. And I think what was lacking in that really was that midfield two, you can't just play midfield two like that. You've got to have something like what McCallum's been playing, like what Gibson's playing, to link that midfield to the attack, which just wasn't there at all.
And
what, sorry?
And McCallum and Gibson have both had really good games recently as well.
Yeah, that's the thing. It was a weird sort of unforced change. It's not as if he needed to make this sort of change in the formation. Like, he hasn't changed formation all season. I told you when we were watching the Bradford game that I was going on a Gillingham fan channel to speak before the match, and I was so confident when I said to him, I said, we always play a 5-3-2. I said, it's going to be this. We're going to start with this. These are going to be the midfielders. We're going to change our strikers here, and just trust Paul Simpson to change the formation entirely the 1 week that I go on another channel and say that. But yeah, it was just weird, and it didn't work from minute one.
No, I mean, Will, obviously, you didn't see you haven't watched the highlights and you haven't really heard about the game. But when you're looking at that formation, you're obviously thinking, you remember 4-3-3, Simo. You're obviously thinking 4-3-3 with Garner in the middle. But I mean, why would you play Garner over Edmondson if that's the case? Like what do you think the mindset is in that front three and a midfield two?
Yeah,
what do you think wasn't happening?
I don't know. I mean, I guess I kind of assumed that he was going to.
Was Garner up front on his own?
Patrick.
Was it two wingers?
Yeah, I wasn't sure what he was going to do. I thought, was he going to put Patrick on a wing or Gordon on the wing? And I mean, the thing that I really wanted to know is, we've not been scoring, and is Simo now just trying out things to see if it gets us scoring again? I mean, obviously, I know that Simo wouldn't just start throwing shit at the wall to see what sticks. He'd have thought long and hard about every formation, but he's kind of try different combinations of the strikers we've got, and we were scoring loads of goals, and now we've gone 3 games without scoring a goal, and Christian Dennis hasn't really had much of a sniff in a while now, and for ages we had Dennis and Gordon. Some of our best attacking was Dennis and Gordon as the front two.
Yeah.
And I know you kind of Garner came in and done well, and we've got Patrick back fit again, and now Edmo's back and he scored on his first game back. So he's a bit of a selection headache, but I feel like we haven't kind of gone back to what we were doing when we were scoring goals enough.
Yeah, and maybe there's a case to be made that it's going back to what was giving us success in the first place, and then maybe giving that Dennis and Gordon combination another chance again. Or if it's not, it's that Edmondson and Dennis conversation. Gentlemen, something I'm very privileged to do is work at Brunton Park. And today I was very lucky as I bumped into Mr. Paul Huntington himself. He was obviously not a part of what happened this weekend, but had perhaps the weight of the world on his shoulders after watching the game. He mentioned to me that he does feel a lot of pressure with this being his hometown team, and the way that the performance went was very frustrating, and how he was basically just trying to imagine how the lads would have been feeling with his experience. He sort of said, this is how I would be feeling after a late result like that. And after that conversation, or during that conversation, I was quite privileged to learn a little bit more information that he'll be returning from injury for the weekend against Leyton Orient, as will Mr. Finn Back and Jack Ellis. So there's a number of people returning to the squads. And as I was having that conversation with Paul, it made me realise that maybe the Cumbrian core has really been taken out of this team, especially in that Gillingham game, because I think it's really important that there are players on the pitch that really give a crap about the team, about the squad, about the city itself. And the conversation with Paul really made me believe that he actually gives a fuck about the city, he gives a fuck about the football team, and he really cares about the people around him in the team and how they feel as well. And when there's only Owen Moxon on the pitch that maybe is feeling that way, it's a little bit harder to drag everybody else up. But when you've got an Ellis and a Huntington and a Charters in the team, all from this area, maybe that's what's lacking, lads, is what I'm trying to say. I've asked you both what you think was lacking in that first half, and sometimes I really feel like what's been lacking out of these last couple of games is that Cumbrian spine and those players that make the quality players better, because it matters more, you know. It matters. I'm not saying it doesn't matter to players like Morgan Feeney, Callum Guy. I'm not saying it doesn't matter to them, but without those spine of Cumbrian players on the pitch, I don't know if they know how important it is for this team to really get promoted and really push forward. Because as we were talking, the second half, lads, was just as woeful as the first half. There wasn't any kind of cohesion on either side of the pitch, really, until the substitution late on of Dennis being introduced for senior. There was a bit of a change in formation, but that wasn't until the 78th minute. And we already discussed against Bradford when Gibson came on and hit the post. Maybe the substitution was perhaps a little bit too late on in the game to have the desired impact that you really wanted it to. And again, I would say this is suspect of that once again, as Dennis, when he was on the pitch with Edmondson, there was a beautiful ball played by Edmore, who sometimes is a little bit, for me, lads, suspect of not having the quality to hold the ball up. He's got the frame to be a target man. He can bring it down, but it's what he does with it once he brings it down. He can't seem to find the pass and lay it off to an Owen Moxon, or to find Joey Garner. It seems to always find its way to Edmore's feet, but unfortunately, if it finds Edmore's feet, it doesn't seem to find anyone else's feet. But when he's in a forward position, running forward with the ball behind him and getting onto it, that's when he's the most deadliest. But in that position, not necessarily as much. But that's an Edmore tangent. Edmore plays a beautiful ball over to Dennis.
You are right.
Dennis hits a beautiful shot. Thank you. Yeah, thanks, man. But Dennis hits a beautiful shot. It's a case of, for me, everyone's got their own strong suit. Like, everyone's got what they're good at in that Carlisle attacking five. Gordon, Dennis, Edmore, Garner, and Patrick. Like, everyone's got what they're good at. But the balance. Well, Toby's injured, isn't he? He can't come in right now. Toby's had his own bad news this week anyway, bless him. There's a quiz that he was supposed to host that's been cancelled, unfortunately. But you know, that attacking five, they've all got their own strong points. They really do. But to find that balance is the biggest headache that Paul Simpson has right now. To find that balance, because he's brought in five of them. And like I've said about Edmore, he's got his strong suits, but what he looks like, a target man, he isn't. Like, that's not what he is. Yeah. He looks like one, but he's not a target man. Garner doesn't look like a target man, but he is a target man.
But he is, yeah.
You know, Dennis is a menace. You know, so that's the whole thing with Dennis, is that, like, he's brilliant at when that ball is long and it comes down, getting the defender backed up enough to take that touch and to lay it off to Gordon or whoever it is, and then he gets himself in the box. He's an absolute menace to defenders, causing them mistakes, but he isn't good at transitioning the ball necessarily, running with the ball, so he's a hit off and lay it kind of player. And Patrick, he hasn't been good at anything really this season for me.
No, and he's the one who likes to play more than anyone else at the minute. He's the one that seems to be undroppable, which is an absolute mystery for me. You know, Amadi Patrick, I think he had a very good game against Hartlepool. I was down there. He scored 2 goals, then got injured and was out for a few months. He's scored his fair few good goals. He scored in both of the 5-2 games when everyone was scoring, I suppose. But
Yeah.
he seems to be the one at the minute that is really off the pace. It's just he's so fast, he's so skillful, but the touch isn't there with him at all. And he seems to. It just seems really, really off. And I don't know whether that's because he's admitted in the past that he likes to be on the wing, not through the middle, which is what maybe Paul Simpson's thinking was when he started with that front three. But I just don't think he's been at all good enough, and he seems to be the one that he likes to stick with. I think Ryan Edmondson was really poor as well, but that's because he was only really brought on for the last 15, 20 minutes. But his touch as well was dreadful. I get what you're saying about Ryan Edmondson, but I do think he can be better than what he showed against Gillingham. I think there is something else there with him. I just don't think he had a brilliant game, and obviously none of them did. But Patrick's the one for me that you need to raise some real questions of it. And Gordon as well, like, he hasn't been in the team for ages, and he shouldn't really be getting back into it if he's going to put in a performance like he did the other day.
I'm not saying any of them are bad. I'm just saying they've all got the strong points and they've all got the weak points, and
Yeah,
it needs to be
it
the
is
balance is almost. It's really
Yeah.
difficult to find that balance. Like, it must be
Yeah.
really difficult to find that balance.
I mean, there was a time when we had 2 strike partnerships that we would exchange, and it was usually Dennis and Gordon that would start, and then Garner and Patrick would come on. And I thought maybe Simo's plan was he let the understanding build up between those 2 pairs of players,
and it worked.
And obviously, Edmo's come in, and now he's got like 5 strikers to move around, and I don't know if that's kind of like
upset the balance sort of thing.
Yeah, it's kind of made it harder for him to kind of say, I've got one pairing and another pairing, and so it's I don't know, like we're still the top scorers in the division despite having not scored for 3 games and only got one shot away against Gillingham.
That's dreadful, isn't it?
It's dreadful,
so poor.
And I've been looking at the XG and it was really low. It was like 0.3. This, as we're not the top scorers in the division anymore because Salford now are Salford.
Right.
They scored 3 at the weekend, so
3-1.
So Salford are now the top scorers, but we are still the second top scorers. I mean, like, we've gone over kind of like different options with strikers. I think really, are we just at a bit of a loss to explain why we can't score anymore? What's kind of like happened?
I'm sure the man for the job's Paul Simpson, and we'll leave it to him because we've gone over it enough times. I'm sure the man for the job is Paul Simpson. He'll find that balance again. He really will. And he'll find that balance again. Obviously, Gillingham got the goal really late on against Carlisle. A bit of a mistake was made at the back, but to be fair, the whole performance was really dreadful, and I don't really want to dwell on it for too much. So I
suppose I
really
should watch the goal.
Well, you can always give it a go, but like there was a bit of a Robinson maybe should have done better with the part that he was involved in. But it's a League 2 goal. I'd say as a compliment to it.
I don't think you can really defend against that when you sit and defend them for the last half an hour. That's all I'm going to say. Like, I don't think it's any like defensive howler or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's just when you're playing badly, you're going to concede them types of goals.
Yeah. And it's just a poor one. And so, like, we can't really give anyone a man of the match because nobody really stuck out necessarily for us during that. So we'll move on to just sort of giving our predictions to the Leyton Orient game, because we've actually gone for a little bit longer than I thought we were going to go, to be honest. After
we managed to kind of like banter quite a bit in the League 2 roundup, so maybe we should just do that.
Yeah. I guess we can just sort of like banter off a bit more when we need them to. We'll move on. We'll give our predictions for the Leyton Orient game. Obviously, top of the table, Leyton Orient, but they have just drawn against Hartlepool.
I'm watching the goal now, by the way.
All right, okay. 2-2.
God's sake. Well, yeah, I see what you mean. It was just,
I'd say Carlisle can maybe beat them 2-1. I'm going to say 2-1. Liam, what are you going to say?
Yeah, I'm going down there, so I hope I don't go down there for a loss. 2-1 as well, I think I'm going to go with.
Yeah. Will?
Yeah, we need a win from somewhere. Away top of the table. We were better than them I thought, when they came up to Brunton Park. So I'm going to go 1-0. 1-0 Edmondson, I think. Just that's going to be the way it goes. We kind of like have 3 poor games, lose to Gillingham, and then go to top of the table and beat them.
Yeah.
I think that. Yeah, we've got to keep predicting wins. We've got to keep predicting wins, haven't we?
Yeah, it sounds about right. It sounds about right.
None of us were confident at all then, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a hunch. It's a, I mean, and you see how good our hunches. Yeah, you see how good our hunches are when we do the blue or not a blues. So
that's true. But someone that's been on a bit of a hot streak is Liam. As we move on to the last segment of the podcast, boys. Come on! Get to the player! Here we go! Get to the player! Oh, Carlisle made a pretty shit on the weekend. Remember the original?
Yeah, the original.
I should have brought the fucking original one back. Jesus. But no, boys, it is time for guessing the player. Liam is on his way back to an absolute career renaissance, resurgence, however you want to say it.
Pressure's on. I thought I had this. Right. Yeah.
The pressure is firmly with Wills as Liam has managed to claw it back from 9-3 to 9-8 now as things stand. But I do believe advantage is with Liam.
I think so. I
believe so. I believe so.
Yeah, because I had the guess.
So.
Yeah,
that's right. I'll just glance over to my notes.
Yeah, because I remember having a guess before Liam got it.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. It's Liam's turn.
So it gives me more time to think.
It will give you more time to think, but it is Liam's first opportunity to take the lead for the first time ever on guessing the player.
Breaking those double figures.
There's no reason why the generational barrier should play a part in this one. You know the name of this person. You do. You both know the name of this person. He's been mentioned on the Blue Army podcast before. Sure he has. We all know who I'm talking about. As I give you the first clue of the episode for guessing the player, gentlemen, and Liam guessing first. This player was brought in on loan first before signing a permanent contract with Carlisle United. Very good question.
Very good clue. Very good clue.
There's a few of them in there. But not too many.
To
give you sort of like that 1 in 20 kind of odds, innit? It's not unlandish.
Is it? I can't remember whether he was on loan after he left us or not. Joe Garner.
Liam saying Joe Garner. It's a good guess, but it's not Joe Garner, I'm afraid.
Okay.
It's not Joe Garner. So it gets passed over to Wills, who has, as he rightfully pointed out earlier, had a bit of an opportunity to dwell and think about the first clue, which was this player was brought in on loan before signing a permanent deal with Carlisle United. Wills, guess the player.
I'm going to guess. I think. My mind's. You know what? I'm struggling with it at the moment of the last few weeks because my mind just keeps going completely blank.
That's a good game.
Yeah, he just played on loan with us. Yeah, I can. I don't know. I was going to say Nathan Thomas, but he never actually had a contract with us. But yeah, take that as my guess.
You're going to go with Nathan Thomas.
I know it's wrong, but yeah.
You're right, it is wrong. It is wrong. It's not Nathan Thomas. So, Liam, it's your second opportunity to actually take the lead again here on guessing the player. The second clue.
Making a nice round 10.
Making a nice round 10. The opportunity for you to grab with the second clue is this player made 4 Premier League appearances.
Oh, Jesus. I think he made more than this, but Michael Bridges.
It's not Michael Bridges, I'm afraid,
He
Liam.
played a lot more than 4 games in the Prem, didn't he?
He did play a lot more than 4 in the Prem. Mr. Leeds United and Newcastle United himself, Michael Bridges. But Wills, you've got a chance now again. We're on clue number 2. So obviously, the first clue was he was brought in on loan, as we make Liam sweat here. He was brought in on loan before making a permanent signing. And the second clue was that this player has made 4 Premier League appearances. Wills, guess the player.
Is it feel like player. There aren't that many players that you kind of like that we bring on loan and then sign.
I can't think of any at the minute.
I know exactly, and you know who we brought in on loan and then signed. Was it? Is this how we got Chris Chandler?
Chris Chandler, formerly of Manchester City.
Yeah, did he make some appearances? And did we get him on loan and then sign him?
It's not Chris Chandler, I'm afraid, Wills. It's not Chris Chandler. So, Liam, you've actually got the opportunity to draw things up in this one. And this one's a bit of a characterization of the man's physical appearance. The third and final clue for guessing the player is Baldy. Baldy. He had a bald head.
I've already said Joe Garner. I can't think of many. Oh, does he know it? I need to be crucial here.
Oh,
I can't let him get into the double figures.
Will's literally holding his mouth.
Oh, he knows it. I honestly have a clue as well. That's the problem. I'm just trying to think of bald players we've had.
Very, very low amount of hair on their heads.
Because I can think of a player we had, and he wasn't bald, but he was balding, and people used to call him Baldy, and that's what I'm thinking. But I don't think we had him on loan beforehand. I think he might have played Championship, not Premier League. So I'm not going to say it. I was thinking of Anthony Gerrard, but it's not him. Or was it? I don't think we had him on loan. It can't have been. Will's knows it. This is dreadful. I hate this.
You're gonna have to rush you a little bit, Liam.
Okay, jeez. Only other ball player I can think of is Jason Kennedy. Jason Kennedy. Is it him?
Oh! It's 9-9.
I've lost my post and it's gone down.
Was that right?
Yeah.
It was right, mate.
Oh, I didn't know we had him on loan.
Yeah, Bradford, wasn't it?
Bradford on loan. I thought we just signed him from Bradford. Bradford on loan before signing. Jason Kennedy.
Who did he play in the Premier League for? Was it Bradford?
Middlesbrough.
Oh, Middlesbrough. Oh, that was a complete guess. I only got that from the bald thing. I didn't know the other two were right at all. Yeah.
Yeah, because when you said that event, that's when I remembered that we had him on loan. I didn't know much about his Premier League experience, but yeah, definitely
That's a complete fluke
player
from
that
me.
we had
that.
on loan. Yeah.
Well, there you go, boys. It's 9-9, and Liam's comeback is well and truly on.
At least he hasn't beat me.
Yeah.
Not yet. Not yet. Not yet. But the games are counting down. We've got 8 more games left until the end of the season.
That's
Yeah.
lots of games.
Oh, there's plenty of rounds left to be played. There's once
They've
again
got
you
24
two.
more points to play for.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And once again, you two are back on an equal playing field, though, which makes everything all the more exciting. That's right. It's taken you a while to claw it back, but you are back in the game. Boys, it's going to make next week all the more interesting for everybody to come back for. And it's been a pleasure, lads. It really has been. I thought it was going to be a bit shit, because we lost 1-0.
We've made the best of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like
I'm not talking about the match at all.
Well, we did our bit, didn't we? Like I said, we're here to sort of cheer people up a little bit, and hopefully we've managed to do that. And on that note, gentlemen, I mean, to be honest, there isn't really anything else much more left for us to do, apart from saying bye for now.
Bye.